I'm curious about how much of it is art versus science, basically. And so at what elements in the process are you
I think most of it is science. There's a little bit of art there, but it's a science project to get it to look like that, for sure.
Well, because again, back to the conversation of who are the best in the world at laminating, if it is just science and you're just hitting certain numbers and doing a certain technique, then it would just stand to reason that whoever's done the most is the best at it.
Yeah.
But there is a certain...
I was pretty fortunate, though, that there wasn't a lot of people to compare my stuff to.
Yeah.
It'd be different coming up now. There's so many good glassers and guys doing some pretty impressive stuff. But there was literally like, at least in my area down here in San Diego, there was like not a lot of people, especially in those early years. I mean, eventually people started to like turn around and start doing it.
Yeah.
But there really wasn't a lot of people to compare. Like I would have guys come in and, you know, Tom Eberly knew everybody. So people would come in constantly, like, you know, to say hi to him, and they'd look around and it'd be like, holy shit, this is insane. I'm stepping back into 1978 or whatever, you know, 1974. This is crazy. You guys are, you know, wow, I never thought I'd see this again, or holy shit, you know, I feel like I'm young again. So it was crazy those years, but yeah, I didn't really have anyone to compare it to. So I can do like the worst abstract, and it wasn't that big a deal because it was amazing, because some that hadn't been done in a little bit of a time, you know? But then I started getting better at it. You know, so at Channon, there was a coworker, well, not a coworker, but sort of a teammate, I guess. We're both building Joel Tudor surfboards, just in two different shops next to each other. Wyatt, I don't know if you ever heard of Wyatt.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was doing longboards at Channon, and we had a friendly competition between abstracts, you know. So sometimes he would do one that was like, he'd come up with something that was like, oh, whoa, how did he do that, you know? And then I'd like figure it out, and then I would do something and he'd be like, man, how did you, you know? But we'd always kind of end up discussing what we did.
Yeah.
But I think like we pushed each other
to
get better and better, because we were super into it. We're like trying to get our abstracts to look like paisley print, you know?
Explain what an abstract is.
You know, like basically like marbling, like the inside of a marble. I mean, that abstract to me could be anything. It doesn't have to be, it's not like this one thing. I call an abstract, like everything I do are abstracts, whether it's the color fades or a camo splatter thing, or the resin fade could be, you know, it's a form of abstract. But I'm specifically talking about like the marbling or like the swirls, which at the time, if you said an abstract, that's basically what everybody was referring to. So we were trying to come up with some new stuff. So we were doing all sorts of shit, trying to, you know, find out new techniques, we're just experimenting. We had the luxury of experimenting on high-end boards at the time. I know.
So how does that work? Does an order come through and they just say, hey, have at it? Like, we don't care what the end product looks like? Right. Okay.
We're sending a lot of these boards. We're going to Japan.
Okay.
As it's always been. It's kind of, you know, they appreciate it. Seem to more than people around here, or maybe they can afford it. I'm not sure what it is.
And what's the process for creating the abstract? So what do you do to get that marbling?
I mean, there's many ways, but you basically just drop a few little different Dixie cups of color into a base color or however, and then just put it on the board. Whatever hits the foam first is going to stay on there. So that's basically the formula. Is
your creative work in the dropping into the bucket and mixing, or is it in the pouring of the resin onto the board?
It's all of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there isn't a standard way that you have to pour the resin onto the board in order for it to get the best lamination?
I mean, there's a way that I do it. That's my standard, but there's many ways to achieve it, you know? And you get a different outcome depending on what that is. They all can be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the way we do our abstracts was developed Wyatt and I know as well, we all do the same technique on how to get our abstracts together, but we were all in the same area, the same zone together doing it. So
yeah,
we were sharing our knowledge.
Yeah. Do you remember, so one of the aesthetics or styles that you've kind of become associated with is that kind of blended,
the stripes,
splendid stripes
yeah,
of color panels kind of.
Joel had Joel had the initial push to that.
Okay.
Because we were sick of doing, swirls pretty fast for him. He gets pretty bored with stuff pretty quick, and he would look through magazines and stuff like that. And he was like whenever he get personals, he would tell me what he wanted, whether it was like a reverse lamination where you do the top first and, so I'd set the boards up and then he'd be like, I'm feeling these kind of colors, mix up a bunch of, so this one time he called, he's like, mix like 50 Dixie cups of colors, we're just going to like throw them on vertical. And he brought in with this picture. I think Prindle did some amazing stuff back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah. And somehow Joel would find these old pictures. I think he was working on Bing boards back then. Like he was doing some wild stuff. So, and some of those boards, there's still pictures of the first vertical stripe board I did. And the first ones were just random. We just mix a bunch of colors and just ran them down the stringer, not trying to do them neat, just sort of sloppy, abstracty, sort of in the vein of like Bradley Boobin, those BB colors.
I'm not familiar.
Okay. Oh yeah. That's a whole nother thing.
Is he a painter?
Man, this is a whole nother podcast trying to explain Bradley Boobin.
Give me the short version.
He had a feature in the Surfers Journal.
Just recently?
Yeah, like maybe two journals ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I need to bone up on.
Yeah. Anyways, that was more in the style of like that. And then I've did, once I do something for Joel, the orders start coming in, right. do this. So I started doing those, and then all of a sudden it just clicked. I'm like, I could do a rainbow, and then I did the rainbow one, and then that's what kind of like clued me into starting to graduate the colors. And then I kind of stayed doing those rainbow ones were pretty popular. And that lasted all the way up to like I think it was 2007 or 8 when we kind of hit a big recession.
Yep.
And then post Clark foam shut down. The blanks were just terrible. It seemed like the high-end surfboard sort of went on hiatus, and then it wasn't until I started met up with Jeff McCallum, and I had free reign on a board. I think it might have been a kook box. And I did one. I forget what I did though. I think I might have done a rainbow one. And Jeff was like, whoa, that's amazing. And then Jeff was like, could you do that with black? Like fading it from white to black or something? And I was like, yeah. So then we started doing that. And then that got a second life.
Yeah.
Cause I hadn't done one in several years.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Jeff didn't care for the rainbow version of it, but he liked the application and how it looked. And then we just went nuts with starting to fade, certain colors into other colors. And so that's how that came about.
Ultimately Wavestorm
Yeah.
ends up essentially ripping off your design.
Yeah. It's kind of weird,
It's just the craziest.
I just got cut off by a guy on a Wavestorm, and like that kind of shit started happening. You're like, oh man.
And he's writing your color work on the Wavestorm.
Yeah.
What was the moment that epiphany that happened, that you recognized that? And I think
someone tagged me on Instagram.
Okay.
And I was like, wow.
It's blatant.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy. I think I even remember the board that they might have either based it off of too.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. It's all, it's so easily like denied, obviously, but it was pretty funny.
Yeah, there's no legal recourse.
No, there's
really.
there's nothing.
And you didn't
do
even have a
about it.
copyright on it anyway. Like,
how can you? You know, like it's not like you can recreate one.
Right.
They're all like pretty individual, so it's hard to like copyright something.
Wavestorms recreated their version.
It's a picture. Yeah, that was pretty funny. That just kind of shat on the whole thing.
Did it? Did it eliminate that aesthetic from?
Not really. I mean, maybe doing that rainbow one, you know, like that specific one sort of did.
Yeah. At the same time,
but somehow Birch did a rainbow and kind of brought it back too.
Did he?
So many rainbows on Birch boards. It's crazy. But it's more in the style he did on the Psychic Migration board.
Yeah. Well, the in a way, it does validate your work.
Yeah.
More than it does, you know, I don't know, undermine it or eliminate the ability to continue to do it or anything like that. It's just like you've officially arrived, you know? So
would have been nice to get some sort of
royalty
off it or something, but it's like we said, it's so hard to.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, there could be a chance where, it's not like I invented, you know, blending one color into another, right? But,
no, that's true. But you have become associated with a certain style,
right?
And that's one of them, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.